In Tracy, California, the disappearance of an 8-year-old girl shocked the entire community. Sandra Cantu, a vibrant and cheerful second grader, lived in a close-knit mobile home park community, known for its friendly neighbors. After school, she often went door to door, looking for playmates. But on the evening of March 27, 2009, Sandra didn't come home for dinner. Her mother, Maria, began to feel uneasy. She called Sandra's friends, but none of them had seen her. A sense of foreboding washed over Maria. She always told Sandra not to leave the community, and Sandra had always followed that rule. As darkness fell, Maria called the Tracy Police Department for a missing child. Time is everything. Tracy's newly appointed police chief, Tim, knew this well. Statistics showed that a child's risk of harm is highest in the first few hours after disappearance. The police sprang into action, gathering a detailed description of Sandra and what she was wearing when she disappeared. Sandra lived with her mother, grandparents, and 3 siblings. Everyone was home that afternoon, yet no one saw Sandra playing outside. The only lead was a security camera that captured Sandra's movements at 4 p.m. Shortly before she vanished, she was wearing a pink Hello Kitty t-shirt and black leggings. This was the last confirmed sighting of Sandra in the community. Investigators learned that Sandra's parents were involved in a child custody dispute. But did that mean Sandra's father had impulsively taken her? Although Sandra's father had been largely absent from her life since she was a toddler, investigators confirmed he wasn't in Tracy. At the time of Sandra's disappearance, he was quickly ruled out as a suspect. As time passed without leads, the search for Sandra intensified. At dawn, volunteers scoured the community for Sandra. Police deployed helicopters and heat-seeking equipment to detect heat signatures in the area. They canvassed houses, checked nearby businesses, hoping someone could provide a clue about the little girl. But their efforts seemed futile. Sandra had seemingly vanished into thin air. Faced with a lack of clear suspect or vehicle descriptions, the Tracy police felt lost. They issued an urgent missing child bulletin. The FBI's Child Abduction Rapid Deployment Team became heavily involved in the case. Although statistics suggested that 97% of abducted children are likely already harmed at this stage, the FBI and Tracy police clung to the remaining 3% hope, believing Sandra could still be alive. The FBI's priority was to interview every resident of the community. They soon discovered that Sandra's personable nature meant anyone could be a suspect. He was friendly, always offering help, and his charm made him well-liked. He knew nearly everyone in the mobile home park, making the investigation challenging. Every home needed to be thoroughly investigated. Police quickly set up checkpoints in the area and searched passing vehicles, hoping to find a clue. However, the investigation seemed to hit a dead end until a concerned neighbor offered a possible lead. The mother of Sandra's best friend told Maria that a large suitcase had gone missing from her driveway around the same time Sandra disappeared. Although seemingly isolated, investigators were concerned about the proximity of Highway 205, a major thoroughfare between Tracy and the Port of Stockton. If someone had driven through the neighborhood and noticed the little girl, they could have easily taken her. Could they catch anything useful? The FBI profiled a potential suspect in Sandra's abduction. The Behavioral Analysis Unit suggested that the investigation should focus on males familiar with Sandra, especially those living in the mobile home park, particularly adult males. They began reviewing everyone who had contact with Sandra in the past few years. The FBI's analysts realized that Sandra's abductor was likely someone she knew, perhaps even a neighbor. They continued to work under the assumption that the perpetrator likely knew the victim or the victim's community, because you never truly know the people who appear to be your friends. Their hearts may hold untold secrets. On March 29, 2009, in Tracy, California, the disappearance of 8-year-old Sandra continued to baffle the community. 16 hours later, the little girl's disappearance was like an evaporation, leaving no trace behind. As the cold night deepened, the chances of Sandra's survival dwindled, but those who persevered in their search still clung to a sliver of hope. The FBI and Tracy Police Department worked swiftly together, establishing an emergency operations center. Approximately 65 FBI agents and 26 Tracy police officers worked tirelessly. Investigators wanted to get the word out about Sandra. They worked with media outlets to get Sandra's picture everywhere, hoping someone would see her somewhere. And that hope, however faint, was enough to keep the FBI and Tracy police going. They were determined to find her. Around 65 FBI agents and 26 Tracy police officers worked around the clock. Investigators wanted more people to know about the case. They worked with the media to get Sandra's picture everywhere, hoping someone would spot her somewhere, give her a chance to come home. The search was massive. Utilizing every available resource, helicopters searched the skies at night, dive teams searched the cold water, K-9 units tracked Sandra's scent, and volunteers walked the streets, searching every possible hiding place. This was one of the largest missing person searches in Northern California history. Many officers said they felt like they were searching for their own daughters. Sandra had become Tracy's daughter. Her safety was on everyone's mind. However, when a search team found a pink shirt in the town's landfill, similar to what Sandra was wearing when she disappeared, hope seemed to shatter. Investigators approached Sandra's family with the heavy news. But after speaking with the family again, they determined that it was not the right size. This gave them a small measure of relief. If Sandra was still alive, investigators knew time was of the essence. They examined her last known image carefully, looking for clues. She appeared to be heading home. Then suddenly, she turned right, heading in a different direction. Investigators replayed the footage, trying to figure out what might have happened, until a car passed by 8 minutes later. There was nothing on the tape. The K-9 unit could only track Sandra's scent. Within a limited area, they knew she'd gone to the end of the street, to that corner. That's where the last scent was picked up. Investigators began interviewing those in the community with criminal histories. The list was alarmingly long. This normally quiet mobile home park had a dark underbelly. Registered sex offenders, parolees, and those with unusual behaviors. Investigators understood that, while only 2% were registered sex offenders, it didn't mean the others were harmless. They might have just been lucky enough to not get caught. Among these suspects, one man in particular caught the attention of police. 2 years earlier, he'd approached Sandra at the community pool, tugging her hair, even kissing her. This raised red flags. The man claimed it was harmless affection. Although he had no criminal record, his later statements were chilling. He admitted to having fantasies about young girls, especially those aged 9 to 10. This immediately made him a focal point of the investigation. However, he wasn't the only suspect. On the afternoon Sandra disappeared, the park manager encountered an ice cream truck he'd never seen before. The driver was interacting with children near Sandra's home. This was unusual for their small community, raising the manager's suspicions. Had Sandra's friendly and innocent nature made her a target for a predator? As night fell, Tracy residents gathered for a candlelight vigil. Hundreds of stuffed animals were brought, a show of love and support for the little girl. The night air was cold, adding to the growing concern for Sandra's safety. She wasn't wearing a jacket, while the day was warm. The nighttime chill could be dangerous. During the vigil, a woman rushed up to an FBI agent, claiming to have found something. The agents followed her to a mailbox. She pointed to a note on the ground. Investigators were shocked to read the chilling message. Cantu in stolen suitcase, suitcase in water, by stolen trailer and Whitehall. Signed, witness, San Joaquin County Deputy District Attorney. Testa questioned the note's authenticity. The spelling errors seemed intentional, as if someone was trying to disguise their handwriting. Was this note a genuine clue, or a deliberate attempt to mislead police? At dawn, agents ordered a search of a pond, 1.5 miles from the mobile home park. The location bordered a river and a dairy farm, with several settling ponds used for manure runoff. Because of the wastewater flowing from the dairy farm into the ponds, divers could barely see anything, making the search incredibly difficult. Investigators were filled with doubt. Was Sandra really in the pond? Then they turned their attention back to the note. 28-year-old Melissa was the neighbor who reported the missing suitcase. When FBI agents knocked on her door, she seemed unusually nervous. She told the agents that when she saw the note mentioning the child in the suitcase, she became extremely panicked. Because her suitcase was large enough to hold a child, she was a familiar figure in the town, raising a 5-year-old daughter with her grandparents. Her daughter was friends with Sandra, often playing together, enjoying the carefree days of childhood. Melissa's grandparents were pillars of the community. Her grandfather was the church pastor, her grandmother, a teacher. The family was highly respected in town, their presence a source of comfort. Agents were suspicious of Melissa's involvement. She seemed overly eager to place herself at the center of the investigation. Her story also contained inconsistencies. Melissa claimed that at the time of Sandra's disappearance, she was alone, decorating the church for Sunday service. Phone records showed that she had indeed called the mobile home park manager during that time period, but this didn't fully exonerate her. While searching Melissa's car, agents found a blue sticky note with some scrawled notes. Upon closer examination, the evidence response team found hidden information on the note. Stolen trailer, Whitehall River. This matched the location written on the note found by Melissa. Investigators began to suspect that Melissa had written the note In Melissa's cluttered bedroom, agents found a notebook hidden under a pile of junk. The paper matched the note, and a page was clearly missing. Under a special light source, the evidence response team identified letters that perfectly matched those on the note. These findings convinced investigators that Melissa was directly connected to the note. But what was her motive? A desire for attention, or to gauge the police's progress? Melissa's actions only deepened the mystery. Yet, surprisingly, Melissa unexpectedly assisted the police, offering a lead on another suspicious neighbor. Sandra would sometimes play at this man's house. One day, a disturbing incident occurred in the park. A 7-year-old child was drugged. This neighbor even helped the child's mother rush the child to the hospital. However, when police arrived at the hospital, he mysteriously disappeared. This all seemed too coincidental. His behavior made police suspect he was hiding something. Police searched the man's vehicle, but found nothing. As the investigation progressed, residents of the mobile home park began to share information, further complicating the case. Police discovered some disturbing photos during their investigation. These photos were found on the phones of a stepfather and stepson. Sandra was in the photos. Her shirt slightly disheveled, sitting on someone's lap. The stepfather and stepson admitted, further complicating the case. Police discovered some disturbing photos during their investigation. These photos were on the phones of a stepfather and stepson. In the photos, Sandra's shorts were slightly disheveled. She was sitting on someone's lap. The stepfather and stepson admitted that Sandra had been in their bedroom. Investigators began to suspect something was amiss. While searching their home, police found a computer containing numerous inappropriate images of children. There was also a stuffed animal that had been used inappropriately, but neither had a record of child abuse. By this time, Sandra had been missing for a week. The once peaceful community was now filled with unease and fear. Amidst the intense search, investigators decided on a new strategy. They began administering polygraph tests to those under suspicion. The first subject was the man who had kissed Sandra at the pool. He passed the test. His alibi also confirmed. Next was the suspicious neighbor. Although he passed the polygraph, he didn't have a solid alibi. Investigators learned he was friends with the man who kissed Sandra. Were they involved together? Then there was the stepfather and stepson. The polygraph indicated they had lied about Sandra's disappearance. But as officials continued their investigation, they made a significant discovery. Workers at the dairy farm, 1.5 miles from the mobile home park, found a suitcase. This discovery sent everyone's hearts racing. 11 days of searching, 11 days of worry and prayer, all hopes and fears converged on the small suitcase. The suitcase was unmarked, only a thin white cord wrapped around the zipper. Investigators carefully transported the suitcase to the San Joaquin County Coroner's office. When the suitcase was opened, it revealed the small body, curled into a fetal position. It was Sandra. This discovery was a devastating blow, crushing all hope. Who could have done this to her? Sandra was wearing the clothes she had on when she disappeared. Toxicology reports showed that she had been sedated with benzodiazepines, a powerful tranquilizer. There were no obvious signs of trauma, only a mark on the inside of her upper lip. The coroner's report revealed Sandra's tragic fate. She'd been suffocated after being sedated and abandoned in the pond. Even more heartbreaking, doctors found that she had been sexually assaulted with a foreign object. The killer had even straightened her clothing after the attack. This suggested a connection between the killer and Sandra. Perhaps after the act, the killer felt a pang of guilt and wanted her to leave with dignity. The missing person case was now a homicide, but before the investigation could proceed further, Chief Tim faced a daunting task. Breaking the news to Sandra's family, telling the parents that their child was dead, was a heavy burden. As the investigation continued, Melissa became the central focus. Her behavior was erratic. She even attempted suicide. This made her motives unpredictable. Investigators suspected that the note was an act of guilt or a cry for attention. However, to uncover the truth, they needed more evidence. After questioning Melissa's family, investigators learned about a hidden side to her. 3 months prior, Melissa admitted to shoplifting at a department store. 2 years prior, two unexplained fires had occurred in La Palma, California, where she lived.
尽管她未被起诉，但她的名字却与这些事件紧密相连。梅丽莎的精神健康一直起伏不定，她依赖药物来控制情绪波动，却常常过量。就在桑德拉失踪3个月前，一位家长指控梅丽莎擅自带走他的孩子。孩子回家后出现异常，医院检测发现孩子体内含有苯二氮内药。梅丽莎否认了这些指控，事件最终未被起诉，但调查人员意识到，这次他可能不会轻易脱身。一位怀特霍尔路的居民提供了关键线索。他和妻子那晚外出就餐时，注意到一辆小型 SUV 停在路边。他们看到梅丽莎从沟里出来，与她交谈，并能提供确切的时间。这与梅丽莎的车辆和行为描述相符，但这仅是间接证据。调查人员需要更直接的证据。他们获得了搜查令，搜查了梅丽莎祖父母的教堂。在那里，他们寻找与行李箱上的绳索相匹配的绳索。在教堂的周日学校房间，他们发现了被割断并重新系上的百叶窗。调查人员还寻找了梅丽莎可能用来伤害桑德拉的工具。他们用特殊光源检查教堂的每一个角落，希望找到任何体液或血液的痕迹。在厨房里，他们发现了一个擀面杖，上面有红色污迹。他们小心翼翼地收集了这个证据，希望能找到指纹和污迹的来源。现在，调查人员只能等待犯罪实验室的结果。他们希望在采取下一步行动之前，案件能够坚如磐石。但时间紧迫，梅丽莎在医院住了5天后被释放。她的女儿和祖父母已经离开了城镇，她的房子空无一人。警方对梅丽莎的电话进行了监听。第2天，他们监听到了一个紧急电话，迫使他们立即放下手头的工作。梅丽莎邀请桑德拉的姐姐来她家与她的女儿一起玩耍。特雷西警局和联邦调查局担心梅丽莎可能对这位女孩有不良企图。类似于他对桑德拉所做的事情，探员们急忙前往梅丽莎的住所，心中充满了对可能发生的最坏情况的忧虑。当他们到达并敲门时，梅丽莎应声开门。他们看到屋内有一个小女孩，是邻居的孩子，而非桑德拉的姐姐。这让他们的紧张情绪稍微缓解。探员们努力保持镇定，说服梅丽莎前往警局接受一次例行询问。他们明白这是一场心理较量。一场暗中的博弈，他们需要让梅丽莎觉得她仍处于游戏的初期，而警方则在暗中准备收网。在警局的审讯室内，面对证据，梅丽莎最初坚决否认所有指控，但经过5小时的审讯，探员们用确凿的证据打破了她的心理防线。梅丽莎把桑德拉的悲剧归咎于一场游戏的不幸，声称是一场捉迷藏导致的意外。她声称自己忘记了桑德拉被锁在行李箱中。梅丽莎叙述了她驾车前往教堂，开始日常事务，然后才意识到桑德拉还在行李箱里。梅丽莎声称她尝试进行心肺复苏，但未能成功。随后，她重新拉上行李箱，决定将桑德拉的遗体藏匿于池塘中。梅丽莎否认对桑德拉有过侵犯，但她的部分陈述足以让特雷西警局以谋杀罪名将她逮捕。这个案件从桑德拉的失踪开始，到发现她的遗体，再到梅丽莎的被捕，每一步都充满了紧张和不确定性。现在，随着梅丽莎的陈述，案件似乎取得了进展，但对于桑德拉的家人而言，这只是痛苦的开始。法医报告证实了调查人员的不祥预感，桑德拉的死并非意外。在教堂厨房发现的金属擀面杖上检测到了桑德拉的 DNA， 这一发现成为了案件的关键转折点。教堂百叶窗的绳子与手提箱上的绳子相匹配，进一步加深了调查人员的怀疑。对梅丽莎家电脑的分析显示，桑德拉的谋杀是经过冷静策划的。他们发现了一篇文章，详细描述了一个孩子被其祖父杀害后装进行李箱扔进河中的案件。法医的发现为解开这个谜团提供了关键线索。调查人员着手重建桑德拉最后的时刻。监控显示，桑德拉在下午4点离开了实验，朝梅丽莎家的方向走去。
Sandra, come on over here with me. Come here. Want to help me decorate the church? Sure, okay. Come on. Let's get in. 8 minutes later.
8分钟后，梅丽莎的车驶过。梅丽莎将桑德拉带到教堂后，给他喝了掺有药物的饮料。桑德拉失去意识后，梅丽莎开始了她的行动。下午5点左右，梅丽莎打电话给拖车公园管理员，报告行李箱被盗。她试图掩盖自己的行踪，确保如果行李箱被发现，她可以声称有人偷了它。不久后，在下午6点前，目击者看到梅丽莎在池塘附近。可以说， 桑德拉在他妈妈报警前就已经离世。2010年5月10日，面对确凿的证据，梅丽莎接受了认罪协议，承认了绑架和谋杀桑德拉，其他所有指控都被撤销。梅丽莎现在在监狱里服无期徒刑。每当被问及为何杀害桑德拉时，她总是避而不答。她选择了沉默来回应那些关于动机的问题，留下了一个无法填补的空白。虽然当局能够推测出他可能的动机，嫉妒或是对关注的渴望，但这些都无法真正解释为何一个母亲会将黑暗的手伸向另一个无辜的孩子。这个案件如同一面镜子，映照出了人性中最深沉的阴暗面。桑德拉的生命本应充满欢笑和无限可能，却在梅丽莎的嫉妒和私欲中戛然而止。这个悲剧不仅仅是一个家庭的损失，更是整个社区乃至整个社会的一个痛。随着梅丽莎被关进监狱，桑德拉的家人和所有关心这个案件的人都在试图寻找一个可以接受的解释，一个能够让这一切痛苦有所缓解的理由。但真相往往是残酷的，有时候恶意并不需要一个合理的解释，它就这样赤裸裸地存在于我们的世界中。尽管梅丽莎将在监狱中度过余生，但她所犯下的罪行给人们心中留下的创伤，却需要更长的时间来愈合。桑德拉的家人将永远承受着失去爱你的痛苦，而那些曾经信任梅丽莎的人，也将在怀疑和不安中重新审视人性。这个案件提醒我们，保护我们的孩子，守护我们的社区，需要我们每一个人的警觉和努力。桑德拉的故事虽然以最悲痛的方式结束，但他的记忆将永远活在那些爱他的人心中，提醒着我们，纯真和善良是不应该被这个世界遗忘的宝贵财富。